Hi everybody, today's video is going to be a short but hopefully in-depth review on the Wayne Goss powder and the Wayne Goss Foundation. I have been debating doing this review for months already. I got this foundation the moment it launched, but I just couldn't make up my mind about it, and I wanted to really test it out because I had some problems initially. So let's first start with the powder, because the powder is a little bit easier for me to review because I already have my thoughts immediately on the powder. So the powder, it looks like this. It has a 2-year shelf life. It has 75 grams of product. So I already forgot how much I paid for this because it's been months, but I think it's around the $20 to $25 range. By the way, I bought all of this in Beautylish because Beautylish has a very good shipping or customer service. So the weightless powder, this one is the type of powder that's very weightless, that is just it just goes all over the place. So the packaging is kind of cheap. Even when I twist it, it just feels and sounds and looks like plastic, which it is. And then the flap here, like you can see, it's not like really pasted in the cover, so I don't know, it just looks cheap. And then the powder, there's really nothing special about the packaging. The powder just goes all over the place. I didn't even open the whole sticker. I didn't even remove the whole sticker. I just opened perhaps 3 holes, but still it's already all over the place. Now, as for the performance of this, it settles into textures. I don't have a lot of wrinkles, but I have some textures underneath my eyes because of my syringoma, and it just does not smoothen my under eyes. I've tried it with powder. I've tried the powder with a sponge and with a brush, and the results are the same. I either use a damp sponge or a dry sponge, or the flat sponge that is the rectangle one, but the results are the same. It just does not look smooth here compared to my Laura Mercier powder. That one just makes my under eye look very, very, very smooth, and this one, it does not. And as I have oily skin, by the way, and this one, as far as keeping my face oily, I know that oily skin, it's a bit of a high maintenance. I need to powder and blot throughout the day, but even upon initial application, this one does not really mattify my face enough. This one for me is just for people with dry skin, because this one, it kind of sets the makeup, but it does not lock it up. So if you have oily skin and you really don't want to have like shine on the T-zone, this one is not for you, because this one still leaves a little bit of a shine throughout in your face. It mattified it a little bit, but there's still shine peeking through, which is why I think that this is good for people with dry skin, because you won't look super dry. But then again, if you have dry skin, most probably you also have some fine lines, and you just have to be careful because it might settle on the fine lines, because it did on me. It did on my under eyes. So yeah, this one is more on the, it's not cheap, but it's more on the affordable side. It's more on the affordable price range. It's around the $20 mark. It's not like the most expensive powder compared to the Laura Mercier, which is around $45. This one around $25 or $30, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a bit cheaper, but for me, I'd rather invest on the Laura Mercier, which is tried and tested. The packaging is also more luxe. It already has a powder puff included. This one, it's just nothing special. But I was in the market for a powder, that's why I bought this. I was initially going to buy the to buy the big size of the Laura Mercier, but then it's the birthday gift this month from Sephora, so I decided to just try this out. But yeah, I'm just gonna try to use this product when it's in the colder seasons, because you know, colder seasons I'm not that oily, so I want a little bit of shine to pick through my makeup. So I think this will be perfect for that weather. But in the summer, when my skin really needs a little bit of locking in, this one just does not cut it. For the foundation, I'm a little bit torn for this foundation. Okay, basic details first. This is in the shade 6, which is supposed to have a golden undertone. This has a 2-year shelf life. It's made in the USA. It has 1 ounce of product, so it comes in this sleek packaging. It's plastic, but it does not look as cheap as the powder packaging, and it's also heavier because of course this is the product itself is heavier. So this is in the shade 6, and I've had such a hard time looking for the shade that was closest to me. I already knew that I don't have an exact shade match for this foundation because I have neutral to neutral leaning warm olive undertone. So definitely, even in brands that have a huge range of shade ranges in their foundation, it's already hard for me to search for an olive foundation, so how much more for such range that has very limited color shades. So I knew that I wasn't gonna get an exact shade, but at least I was hoping to get something closer to my skin tone. I initially decided to buy the shade 7, but the shade 7 is neutral, and I usually between golden to neutral I would go for neutral. But seeing the initial reviews, the initial swatches, it kind of looked pink. That's why I decided to go to the golden medium shade, which is number 6. So I already knew that this should be a little bit more, you know, closer to my skin tone, because if the neutral shade was a little bit pink, then the golden shade should at least be a little bit more neutral leaning on my skin. And I'm not sure, it still kind of looked pink, and it's so hard to, yeah, there's just something weird about the undertone of the foundation. The depth of the foundation itself, it's a little bit dark on me, on my normal skin, but right now I have some lingering tan from the summer, and then I'll be going to the beach again this weekend, so I'll maintain my tan, and my tan lasts for months. So the depth of the shade is a little bit darker from my initial color, but for now it suits me. But the problem is really the undertone. The undertone, even though it says golden, it still leans a little bit pinkish and sometimes even grayish on me. But I have olive undertones, so the greenness in my skin sometimes is more noticeable at night under fluorescent lights, and when I'm using this one, I just see such difference between my undertone and the undertone of this one, which is, this one is supposed to be golden, but it's just pinkish, grayish. I don't know. Yeah, the undertone is weird, but the coverage is nice. The coverage is so perfect. It's so full coverage without it being heavy. I have a lot of redness here on my cheeks, and this one I only need to apply like 3 strips of a concealer brush, and then I blend it with a brush, and that already covers all of my covers all of my pigmentation, and then with just a little bit of concealer on top, that's good. So I like this. I like this because it just has a very good coverage without it looking heavy. I just wish that the undertone was better. And then it does not have a scent. I mean, it has like a formula scent, but it's not like fragrance or what. And then you only use a little bit of this because again, it's very high coverage. But every time I use it, how do I say this? The way I put foundation, I just use it mainly on where I need coverage, and then with the remaining product on my brush, I just blend the rest on my face. But because this one has a very different or weird undertone, I mean, it's not very drastic, but on some lights, the difference can really be seen. So for this foundation, I really need to make sure that the all of my face are evenly, have an even coat of foundation, because otherwise the difference in my skin tone will be a little bit noticeable, especially at night. And then application, I've tried this before, one half with a primer, the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip primer, and then one half without. And after 2 to 3 hours, the one with the primer was holding up better, but not by much. And then after the 8th hour or the 6th hour mark, they're both the same. So I'm not sure if this one just is not compatible with that primer, but yeah, if you are using a primer, the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip primer, I didn't really see much difference between using and not using the primer. So there's that. And then application, I've tried this before with a sponge and with a brush, and I prefer the brush side, because this one has a cream formula. Not sure if you can see, hopefully you can. So you can see my color is greenish, but this one kind of looked pinkish and a little bit grayish on me. Like, it's in here. Let me just swatch it again. So that is the shade. Between the brush and the sponge, I prefer the brush, because since this is a cream foundation, I feel like I really have to buff it into the skin. Otherwise, if it was just with a sponge, it felt like the foundation was just sitting on top of the skin. And I am someone with textured skin as well as pitted scars. I have a lot of pitted scars. So I really need to buff it. I really need to buff the foundation into my skin to cover the pigmentation on my scars. Because for me, I noticed that the longevity and the finish was much nicer with the brush than with the sponge. The sponge was even at first, but then because it was just sitting on top of the skin, an hour after, my skin was already sweating and it was already breaking apart. But since in the other side, the brush side, since I was able to buff it in, my skin felt a little bit more even, and the foundation felt like it's gonna stick more to my skin. So the longevity was better on the brush side. My skin is oily, acne prone, sensitive. I normally just use I apply this with a small concealer brush, just one stripe on my forehead, and then 1 to 3 stripes on both my cheeks, 3 here, and then buff it with a larger brush, and that's how I apply it. And then also the last comparison that I did was setting this foundation and not setting it. Since this is a cream foundation, this one is very forgiving for dry skin. But since I have oily skin, and then I live in the Philippines where it's very humid, although it's kind of in the rainy season now, but still kind of humid throughout in the day, I need to set this, which is not a problem because that's what, oily skin people have to do. I just have to make it work for my skin, which is, powder. Now, as for the performance wise, I have sensitive acne prone skin and oily skin, And I am so happy to report that this does not break me out. I've had this foundation ever since it launched, I think around April or May, and I've been using it constantly, and no breakouts whatsoever, no redness, no harsh irritation on my skin. And that leaves me to whether I recommend this one, because as I mentioned, I'm a little bit torn with this one in the start because of the shade. The shade is just weird, but the performance is not perfect, but it's manageable. It's, no foundation for my skin is perfect. So, but it has more positive aspects to it compared to the negative. So packaging, it's very easy to travel with. It does not spill. It's very easy to use. You just need to have just brush, and then that's it. The coverage is nice. You can have like a very thin layer of this and have a light to medium coverage, or you can build it up to a high coverage without it looking cakey. It's not drying. It has a more satin formula, but the satin formula is leaning more towards being dewy compared to being demi-matte. So this one is very versatile. It can work for people with dry skin and also with oily skin, which is what I like, because later on this year I am planning on moving to a country that has winter, autumn, so it can be a little bit colder. So I need a foundation that's a bit more flexible with the weather, and this one is definitely flexible. I started using this when during the peak of summer in the Philippines, and then now it's the rainy season. It's a little bit colder, not like winter cold, but it's a bit colder. My skin is not as oily, and it still works. It does not cling to dry patches, to my pimple dry patches, not that I noticed. And then yeah, it's manageable. I can work with this foundation whether it's in the colder season or in the hotter season. I just need to adjust it depending on the weather. The price is okay. It's not cheap, but it's also not like very expensive like Hourglass prices or Dior prices, but it's affordable, just depending on the budget. And you get a lot of product in here. I just wish that the shade, or the undertone rather, was better. I just wish that if it said neutral, then I hope that it was neutral. It's not pinkish. And if it's golden, I just wish that it was really golden. It was really warm, not like still pinkish. Less pinkish than the neutral, but still pinkish. And I know that Wayne Goss released a video explaining why the shade is like this and like that. But for me, if you're gonna come out with foundation and you're a little bit of a famous makeup artist, might as well have saved up a little bit more to release more shades, or just shades with better undertones. So yeah, all in all, I like this product. And for now, if ever I'm gonna run out of this, I'm not gonna repurchase this just because I need a better shade. But yeah, for me right now, I can work with the shade change, with the shade undertone, because I just need to be a little bit more careful with what blush, bronzer, lipstick, and eyeshadow I need to wear for it to balance the undertone of this foundation. But all in all, it's manageable. I just hope that he comes out with more shades later on. And that is it for my review on this foundation. I know that it's no longer new, but I wanted to really organize my thoughts about this. Not that I'm very organized when I'm speaking. But yeah, that's gonna end this video. If you have any more questions regarding this product, let me know in the comments. And for now, I need to say bye-bye, and thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you subscribe. Bye guys.